They said, love your product, but can you build anything else? So we said, well, like what? And they said, well, do you think you could make basketball rims? Because we think we could sell a lot of basketball rims. And we said, yeah, we think we can.
From Grindstone Media, this is Nebraska Made, a narrative journey through the lives of Nebraska's most inspiring business leaders. We unpack the intimate details of how our guests navigated obstacles and built their companies in pursuit of the good life. I'm JT Martin, and today we hear from Nick Cusick, the president and founder of the sporting equipment manufacturer Bison, Inc. Our guest today, Nick Cusick, has been heavily involved in the economic development of Nebraska. He was the president of the Lincoln Chamber of Commerce and helped bring Pinnacle Bank Arena to Lincoln. But before he began volunteering and working in the community, he made a name for himself by building high-end basketball hoops right here in Nebraska.
I grew up in Fremont, born in Fremont. My dad was in the service during the Korean War, and during the Korean War, we spent a little bit of time in Reno, Nevada, and in Colorado Springs. But other than that, I lived in Fremont all my life until I was a junior in high school, and my dad had taken a job in Lincoln with the Lincoln Public Schools, and so we moved to Lincoln.
When you were a kid, were you entrepreneurial? Did you have lemonade stands or paper routes or anything?
My family lived on the outskirts in a new development in one part of Fremont, and we were kind of surrounded by cornfields, and I was probably 5 or 6, and one of my little friends and I went in the fall after the harvest and picked up ears of corn that had fallen had not been picked, and we'd put them in grocery bags, and then we'd go knock on doors and sell them to people for feeding the squirrels. And of course, there was a couple flaws in our thinking. Number one, no squirrels had come to our neighborhood yet because we were a new neighborhood and the squirrels are kind of in the old neighborhoods. And the second is they had all the corn they wanted. But they all bought from us because, of course, we're young and cute and, entrepreneurial. So we sold a lot of corn, and I'd keep track of my nickels and dimes and my quarters and stack them in little plastic tubes. So, I always had that inkling. My first day of high school in Lincoln, again, I was a junior, and pulled into the parking lot, and I was driving a little 1953 MG British sports car. And the guy that pulled in right next to me was driving a little Triumph Herald British sports car. Just happenstance, like a lot of things that happen in life are just kind of serendipity. They just happen, not for any reason or not because they were caused that way. But so we pulled into the parking lot about the same time. First guy I met, because we'd moved during the summer, first guy my age that I'd met in Lincoln. We walked into school together, and I guess the rest became history. I guess we became good friends, shared a interest in sports cars and girls and other stuff, and became friends.
So the first person that Nick meets in Lincoln's name is Elmer Wessel. They become best friends, and little do they know, they would eventually go on to become business partners for the next 4 decades. After high school, Elmer goes to Southeast Community College to study machine tool technology, and then he gets his associate degree from Milford Trade School in engineering and becomes a machinist. Nick goes to UNL, gets his undergrad in business, followed by his MBA. So Nick bounces around in the corporate world for a little bit after college, but he knows that he wants to own his own business. So in 1974, he joins back up with Elmer to go into business together.
Ultimately, my business partner and I, Elmer Wessel is his name, started talking about opening a business, and we were kind of like, well, what kind of business do you want to open? Do you want to open a bar or a restaurant? We're 20 and 21, or 22 maybe. And he had purchased some equipment and had it in his parents' garage already. So he liked to tinker in his parents' garage. And they had a metalworking lathe and a mill and a surface grinder and a welder and some of that fairly basic equipment for a machine shop in his parents' garage. And I had tinkered with him a few times and was way less mechanically inclined than him, but certainly was entrepreneurial. So we'd worked on some projects together. I'd helped him rebuild a couple cars and as we flipped a coin to decide what business to go into, bar or machine shop, we decided to go into machine shop. And so we did that exclusively from 1974 till the mid-'80s. And that type of business is often called a job shop, meaning you don't have your own product line, you do work for other people. Most job shops, no matter what kind of work they're in, whether they're a wood shop or whatever, ultimately start hankering for your own product line. So did we. So we tinkered on a couple things. And
I heard a story about you were in a softball league, and a lot of your equipment was kind of all over the place in the trunk of your car, per se.
Yeah. So we had a male slow pitch softball league, a team. And, it's like a lot of those things, it was mostly a drinking thing, and there was a guy who was not an employee of ours who was he called himself the coach. He organized a few practices that you went and drank at afterwards as well, and always brought the equipment to the game. And he was going to be on vacation for a couple of weeks. So he asked Elmer if Elmer would haul the bats and balls. So Elmer did, and it was in an old Army duffel bag, and Elmer had a fairly newish car, and he had the bag and all this stuff in it, and it was all dirty from, you just throw stuff in the bag and dusty from the field and all that stuff. So he threw it in the back of his car, and he was kind of pissed off because it got the car dirty. So that necessity is the mother of invention, as they say. So he, being the crafty guy that he was, went to the plant one week or that next week and started tinkering with a bunch of different sizes of wire and welded together a prototype of a product that held bats and balls, and actually had a Velcro in nylon pack cloth zippered bag that was all part of this device. So he came to me and said, "Hey, I just designed this product, and here's how it works. And what do you think? Do you think we can sell these?" And I said, "Well, among other things, I said." Probably not under the name Industrial Machine Specialties, because that was the name of our job shop.
Yeah. And you're the sales guy. You have your MBA.
And I was going to be the one that was going to attempt to market it. So we said we needed another name, and we didn't at that time form a totally separate company. So it was just a brand name, if you will. And true story, as much as I hate to admit it, but as we were searching for a name, and I'm not the most creative guy in the world, but. So I had a meeting or something in Omaha, and I was driving down the road by myself, and I had a dictionary, and I was kind of flipping through the pages looking for something that seemed to be just the right name, and came across Bison. I got through the A's and couldn't find anything, got to the B's, and all of a sudden here's Bison, and it's Midwestern, it's strong, it's durable, it's kind of iconic, the American bison, and so we picked the name Bison.
So Nick and Elmer were in business. They start manufacturing these baseball equipment containers and selling them at a high $60 a piece. That's much higher than the $10 duffel bag alternative that had currently existed in the market. But they believed that they had a good product, and they knew from experience that there was a need for them. Well, the product started selling, and it wasn't long before they learned that there were other opportunities in the market as well. And was that first product successful? Did you sell a few?
Yeah, we sold a few. So success is a relative term. So we decided we weren't going to sell direct. In today's world, we probably would have sold them online. But at that time, that was, remember, this is 1985. This was pre-web. So we had made a decision. Early on that we weren't going to sell direct to consumers. We were going to sell through dealers. Well, we went to a show. I can't remember where it was. I think it was in Dallas, maybe, and we ran into a 5 or 6 man rep group, and they loved the product. They had some baseball related products, a uniform line and an actual ball line, a softball and baseball ball line called Diamond, and a couple other complementary products. So they took it on, and they sold a few, and the people who bought them liked them, but we were talking to them. We said, well, how's it going? You're selling some of these. What do you think? Is this going to get bigger or not? And they said, love your product, but can you build anything else? Is there some other sporting good product you think you could manufacture with the kind of equipment you have? So we said, well, like what? And they said, well, like, do you think you could make basketball rims? Because we think we could sell a lot of basketball rims. So again, a very serendipitous thing. And we said, yeah, we think we can. So we got into basketball. So that really when our business started to grow.
That's really exciting, especially to see like a new offshoot of your baby, your child of this product kind of take wings and have this whole other basketball line. I bet that was pretty exciting.
We kind of pioneered on any kind of a national basis, high-end residential basketball. Our home basketball, driveway basketball system would retail at $499, and the competition out there was largely round three-piece poles with a fairly flimsy rim and backboard, and it sold at a Walmart type of a store for $99. People told us you'll never sell a basketball system for $499. Nobody in their right mind is going to pay $499. And so, but on a national basis, we were kind of the first ones who really did that. And then some of our competitors started saying, gosh, not only can they sell a $499 basketball system, but they're selling $699 and $999. And our highest price currently at retail, our suggested list price on our most expensive basketball system, I think is $29 something.
Wow. That's almost an extension of people's homes too.
Yeah.
When they want a basketball hoop out in front that's looks nice and
sure.
it's going to stay there when the wind blows.
Yeah, all those kind of things. Yeah, because why would you have a big expensive home and then slap a cheesy rusting system out in front of your house?
So Bison Inc. takes off in the 80s due to America's growing love for basketball. Much of the sport's popularity was due to players like Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, and of course, Michael Jordan, who even owned a Bison hoop at his home in Chicago. The 80s brought basketball sneaker deals, the salary cap, the draft lottery, and in general, it brought basketball into what it is today. And all this time, Nick Cusick is building a basketball hoop empire based on good customer service and integrity in the humble city of Lincoln, Nebraska. So my grandpa was a high school basketball coach in Hebron, and basketball was just such a big thing in my family. And I felt like a lot of people in Nebraska really loved their home basketball hoop and just basketball culture in general. Yeah. Do you think that was part of it?
Oh, sure. We had 3 or 4 different advantages, I guess. I think there's the Midwestern work ethic and the Midwestern friendly. Fortunately, I don't have many complaints make their way up to me. They usually get, because we're not perfect, we forget putting hardware in, or we occasionally do something wrong, or we don't ship on time or whatever. And, we try to empower all of our staff to be able to deal with those, but occasionally they can't be satisfied. So they ask, I want to talk to the owner, or I want to talk to the president. And so my philosophy is I always ask people, said, what can we do to make it right? Because quite honestly, depending on where they're from, it kind of throws them off. If you're from New Jersey or New York, you're like, nobody's ever said that to me. I want to fight with you. I want to get into a shouting match over, we've been like that a long time. So we instill that culture. And I think that's kind of a Midwestern, sort of a culture. Elmer's now deceased, he's same age as I. We both graduated from Pius at the same time. But, I think like a lot of partnerships, one person has one. And I think one of the reasons that our partnership lasted as long as it did, again, starting in 1974, but was that he had kind of the technical skills and the manufacturing and engineering-y type skills, and I had more of the marketing and business and administrative type skills. So doesn't mean we didn't fight from time to time. Didn't mean we always agreed. Yeah. We, I think, more than once grabbed each other by the collar and threw each other to the ground, fighting over business issues. But that's okay, because we survived it. We survived for 39 and a half years as business partners, which is a long time for partners.
That's almost a marriage at that point. You know, when you know somebody that well and you've been through that much.
As a matter of fact, since you mentioned marriage, we'd been probably for 6 or 8 or 10 years before we finally did kind of split up our businesses. We'd been, shall I say, drifting apart. And I often have said it's a little like waking up one morning after being married for 50 years and you're sitting at the kitchen table in the morning reading the newspaper and having coffee, and all of a sudden you both simultaneously look at each other and say, now why are we married? the kids are grown and gone, and so Elmer and I had kind of reached that point. The attorneys and the consultants that we'd kind of hired to help us navigate how to end our business marriage, if you will, came up with a plan that was referred to as a divisive reorganization. And so, of course, we kind of said, no, we don't like that word divisive. We're no longer best friends, but we don't want to have this be divisive. They said, oh, no, that's a internal revenue terminology. Divisive meaning you're dividing your property and reorganizing without any current tax consequences. And so we, not unlike, I guess, a marriage, we went through and split up who gets the dog and who gets the cat and who gets the furniture and who gets which car and et cetera. So that's kind of what we did back in May of 2014. So.
Wow, 39 years.
Yeah, it's a long time. Yeah, it's a long time.
That's amazing.
It's a long time to do almost anything.
Yeah, you almost made it to 40. You couldn't make it one more year?
We could have made it to 40. Yeah, well, that would have been our, I don't know what anniversary 40 is in a marriage, so I don't know if there's a terminology for business.
Elmer passed away after battling cancer in 2019, and Nick says that they were yin and yang to each other. Today, Bison makes products for almost every sport from basketball to volleyball to soccer, and while they continue to sell residential basketball hoops, that only accounts for about 5% of their business. Bison has about 1,000 dealers, and they're starting to emphasize international sales as basketball's popularity spreads throughout the world. Nick has done really well for himself, and a lot of his friends are already retired, but Nick says that he still enjoys going to work every day. I'm JT Martin, and this has been a Grindstone production. Grindstone is one of the premier production and marketing firms here in Lincoln, offering everything you need to grow your business in 2020, from video and podcast production to social media management and media buying. You can learn more by visiting grindstoneagency.com.
He asked me if I ever wanted to sell a small product online, and I said no, but maybe I should go back to selling corn to little old ladies to feed the squirrels in the country.
Yeah.
You never know. With the right marketing, you just might be able to.